how would you describe the material culture of the time?
I know. I feel like I've told you what I know about the 80s. Like it was all plastic. Like n- just the least organic decade that I can imagine. And of course, like dividing it into decades is a little bit artificial. But there's a clear difference between what people looked and sounded like in the 70s and what that transition it becomes in the 1980s and beyond, sort of that corporatification of America. Like I think it affects all of the materials around us in our lives, and so even the music I was buying, I thought it was somehow rebellious. But as I look back on it, like it's not at all. I was talking with my wife Vicky about it the other day. I want to write an article someday on big hair metal in the 1980s. And because it strikes me there's this really interesting and very revealing, like this revealing truth about the 80s. And that is when you looked at these bands, they seemed transgressive. Long hair, they were wearing makeup, they would wear really flamboyant clothing. They seemed like they were rebelling from the culture. But when you actually listen to the songs they sing, they're almost reactionary. Like every band, I think, probably had a song about having sex with underage girls, which is a weird thing if you think about it, right? It's this really weird, creepy thing, and yet they were all doing it. And so, in many ways, I think that obviously the big hair metal was just as packaged as all of the really like plastic stuff that I thought I was transcending and listening to metal, right? That there was this packaging of rebellion, but underneath it, the message they're selling is the same traditional social, political, gendered hierarchies that Reagan was supporting. So it's a weird thing to think about Rat and Poison and Bon Jovi as, Reaganites, but they were in fact selling exactly that to the public. So yeah, like it just plastic and inorganic is, I guess, what I keep coming back to. I'm not a big fan, if you can't tell, of the 1980s. It was not my favorite decade,
Yeah,
in
the
part because I blame it for a lot of where we're at today.